What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Wrenching Wrecked. Today, well, the heater's cycling, so sorry about that noise. If that shows up, we got some snow yesterday. Not much, most of it melted, but we had about 1.5 inches this morning. Just got back from work and shop work, and now it's time to play some ironhead. So I don't remember what I ordered from the old Amazon, but we got a bunch of boxes. Some odds and ends for this, but where we left off yesterday, well, let's go back 2 days. 2 days, I was really excited about this bike and this motor. The cylinder heads on this are in fantastic shape. No carbon buildup whatsoever. Valves are super clean. Everything looks really, really nice. They're seated really well. I didn't do a light test, but I can tell you right now I probably don't have to. Maybe on the exhaust valve. We'll give that a once over. I'll show you guys how to do a quick check on that. But the heads are in phenomenal shape overall. Very clean. If you work on these old ones all the time, you get used to seeing a lot of crap. This wasn't crap. I was really excited about it. And I was originally going to leave the mag in and just do head gaskets and rockers. The whole reason this motor is apart is the rear head was draining oil from the gasket flange terribly. It was draining down, running down, and then hitting the exhaust and just smoking like crazy. Started mediocre, not the best, but now the mag's out, so we're gonna have to retime it. We'll get that all dialed. I didn't really go through and do a full-on tuning process on the carb. We adjusted, we got it set closer, but it was nowhere near dialed, and weather-wise, it's not really cooperative for actual carb tuning for riding season. So any carb tuning that I do now is kind of null and void because it's about 20 or 30 degrees colder than the typical riding season. We'll still tune it and push on with that. Like I said, we got some snow. They salted the roads, which is typically put the fun cars away. I don't mind the weather. I don't mind the snow. Everything I own is old and crappy and rusty already. I don't need to add salt to that equation and expedite that process. So that's kind of where we're at. I gotta go through some of these packages, see what we got here, and then the new V-twin order showed up. So if you've been watching all of these, I got some honing stones because we need to freshen up the cylinders that are sitting up there. Cylinders, phenomenal shape. Pistons, they've seen better days. So it doesn't look as bad on camera here. Let's see. Lots of scoring here. Lots of scoring here. And then same thing on the exhaust sides of both. So at this juncture, I already had the gaskets coming. I needed rocker box gaskets. Heads were off because the rear head has to come off in order to do the rocker box gasket. We broke the mag cover, so I did replace the one that I broke from over tightening. So we'll try another sifted one. If it works, cool. If not, I'll stick with the black plastic one indefinitely. We got a new sealed beam headlight because the headlight's bad on that. Taillight's still working. Everything was working until I test rode it. Something must have rattled free or broke. And there's that. So let me open up some boxes and we'll get it set up. Today's goal is, I got a late start day at work tomorrow, so I will be out here a little bit longer. We will chuck these cylinders up in the vise. I gotta find a gas bottle, and we are gonna cut these cylinders quick rehone with the 220 stones I have down there. And I think we're probably gonna use some gasoline. I ordered brand new pistons and Hastings rings. Oddly enough, I have another set of V-twin replica pistons and rings. These are 1000 cc for the chopper motor that's in the bottom case over there, not the shovel head, but the other girder iron head that I'm supposed to be working on before this replaced it. So not replaced, but this is taking precedence because we're running out of days to ride these. I want to get this done and finalized before we start digging into that other one, and that other one's going to take me a while. I got a ton of fab work to do on that. So it should make some good videos down the line, but once you get into the custom making brackets, making stuff for that, it takes a lot longer. So speed, ease, we're into this for a very little amount. which is why I don't mind spending a little bit of cash and getting this all sealed up and cleaned up. I also run into Pandora's box effect. Cylinders are off. These are crusty. I own a powder coating shop and a sandblasting shop. I could get these jugs punched out, which I actually thought about because I got to run up there on Friday to drop off these pistons so we can finish my cylinders for the extra 1,000 motor that we're putting together. I didn't want to do a top end fully. The amount of crusty chrome on here, everything on this motor has been chrome. So the primary chrome, generator chrome, girder chrome, upper plate for the girder, rusty chrome, cam cover, mediocre chrome, sprocket cover, mediocre chrome that's peeling and oxidized, same thing on the brake drum. There's a lot of crusty chrome on here. While the cylinders are off, this is the best time to go through and try and clean those up. It would take me a whopping 15 minutes, maybe, let's say an hour total of time to mask those off, throw them in the blast room, blast those down to bare metal, and either re-powder coat or even paint them, whatever it is. I could have the cylinders and the heads looking very nice, but that would take away from the glorious nature of this ugly swap meet gem. So I think we're gonna do a mechanical rebuild, nothing cosmetic. There's a lot to clean up on here, crusty invader. Pretty good shape invader, but in the grand scheme, again, I don't want to change the aesthetics of this. One of the appeals to me was the crusty nature of this bike, so we'll keep it that way. Anyways, I'm rambling, so I'm going to throw you guys up on the tripod and get the honing stones set up. We'll chuck these cylinders up in the vise and start going to honing town. So I got a couple of these cylinder hones. I actually bought a really nice one at the last swap meet too, along with this bike, but that's kind of a pain in the behind to use. So we're gonna snap the zip tie off of this. Pinch my finger, of course, because that feels really good. Here is the old one. Notice the stones are all cracked and worn out. We're gonna start with fresh ones. You can save them. I always leave them together, but every single time I go to do a set of cylinders on anything, I pretty much replace all of the parts. So I stopped at AutoZone on the way here because they do actually stock these. Compress the cotter pins here. Now, let me preface this by saying this is a down and dirty rebuild. This is not a full professional rebuild. These cylinders are, honestly, they're in really good shape. Is this gonna take out every little scuff? No. If you wanna do that, get them rebored. Now is the time to do it. I don't need to sink the money into this one. So we are gonna have a brand new freshened up set of pistons and rings, but we don't have any gouging in these cylinders, and I'll try my best to visualize that for you. The problem with cameras is they don't like focusing on the detail stuff that I need you guys to see. So I'm just popping these cotter pins out right now, sorry. The struggle is real right now. Cylinder hones are relatively cheap in the grander scheme of things. These stones are junk. Once you use them once, get rid of them. If you were smarter than me, you would have done that a while ago. But they sell these at the auto parts store. The hone is going to be very dependent on what your cylinders are or what your motor design is going to be. On this, we're running repop pistons that I'm really hoping to get here by Friday. I'd like to have this bike running by Saturday. Quick backstory, a good buddy of mine is putting on a little frozen snot ride this weekend, and I wanted to take this bike there. So that was the game plan, and I would have made it 100%. All of the V-twin parts showed up today. So that's the base gaskets, head gaskets. I was just gonna clean it up, slap it back together, send it. Their meetup is far away from me, but their second stop is about half hour from my house. We have a plethora of running bikes, so that doesn't really matter in terms of what I know. I'm going either way on Saturday. I'll try and bring you guys with, but I kind of wanted to take this out for one ride before I decide what I'm doing with it. And that was the tentative plan. And then while I was staring at this yesterday and decided to pull the cylinders off and then found the busted pistons, probably not gonna happen. So that's why we're doing this. Maybe there's a slight chance, but I'm not really looking to absolutely rush it to get this together. So new stones, cotter pin slips on, cotter pins go on, then we start grinding away at the cylinder. So as I was saying, 220 grit on here. This is never gonna give you as good of a hone as getting it machined and doing an actual hone. However, I'm a cheap bastard. I assume most of you guys are probably also relatively cheap bastards. Can't spend all your money on machining when you have other bikes to buy, because everybody needs 5 or 6 or 7 old junk Harleys and old junk Fords. But here's kind of what we're gonna do. I'm gonna chuck this up in a drill, not the impact. Let me grab that. Here's my impact drill. This will ratchet. This goes dat 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 dat. You don't want that. You want a regular drill like this without the battery. This will thread onto here, and realistically you actually want to use an electric one, not a battery electric one, to clarify. This is really hard on drills. I don't really care if this blows up. We'll get another one. It's had a good life thus far, so I've used this on a couple of those 302s over there. Car cylinders, trying to overbore them a little bit. This is gonna be nice and easy. 3-inch bore on a 900, so small pistons. These are standard bore. They're in pretty good shape. There's a little bit of, not even scoring, but a little bit of wear up and down here, which makes sense when you look at how bad the pistons are. So I'm gonna throw you guys up right about here-ish, drop that down, and then I need to find a squirt bottle and some gasoline, and we are going to push this stuff back, make a big old mess of gasoline all over the floor and on top of a wood workbench right underneath a heater that has an open flame. Smart. Got you guys over on the actual motorcycle lift. This is filled with straight up gasoline out of the 5-gallon jug. And there's nothing better than, oh, cheapo, high quality squirt bottles. So, off. Yeah, that'll work. Gonna get a nice little jet here. We are playing with gasoline underneath the hot heater. This is a terrible idea. Do not do this at home. Ever. This is a horrible, horrible, horrible idea. But it's what we got. So, actually, let me turn the thermostat down. We'll click that off. The pilot I'm not worried about, but if this cycles on, we are literally soaking gas fumes right underneath the heater, right there. So not the greatest idea in the world. We have a 3-inch bore stock 900 standard bore cylinder. These are aftermarket. I've verified. We're gonna soak these down with some gasoline. We're gonna drop our hones in and then let her rip. We're going on 1 on the drill for now. Kind of a one-handed ordeal. Keep it lubricated. Especially at the start, constant motion up and down, up and down, up and down. This is maxed out speed right now. So what I like doing is soaking this and letting it work through a little bit. Don't go too low or you're gonna bottom out and break your stones. And I only bought 1 because that's all they had at the store today. Now, I like to shut the drill off as I'm doing an up motion and kill that real quick. So I can tell you, just visually looking at this, there's a couple spots that are a little bit more worn than I'd like them to be, but not at all bad. This is gonna run perfectly fine. I'll bring you guys around in a minute. But that was with the drill on 1. So after I get the hard cut done, the initial, you can see on my finger, it turned black already, just from wiping that. That's gasoline and honing stone material. So we'll drop this back in. We're gonna do this for 30 more seconds. Soak her down. You don't want to have that come out too far like I just did. Now, the way that these hones work, while you're drilling, these are on a spring, so these want to kick out. The faster they spin, the harder they kick out. So we're good on that for now. We're going to drop this back in. I'm going to click the drill to 2, re-squirt, and now she's going to start biting. Probably want to have this tightened down so it's not spinning on you. Don't wear your nice clothes because it's going to spray crap everywhere. But the faster that drill's spinning, the more it's going to make a mess out here. It's going to kick those stones out farther and harder. So we got splatter all over the white paper towel here. My pants are now covered. Good thing I changed into my work pants instead of wearing my one good pair of jeans that I own. But let me grab a towel here. Preferably one that's not covered in oil. And we're going to do one more spritz on here with straight gasoline. That's going to help me get some of this residue off. But I'll show you what this looks like. And this is the first of the 2 cylinders, so I'm showing you guys on this one. I'm not going to do the second one at all. But you can get a nice comparison here when we are done with this. So I can only kind of get to the top from here. Man, this is honestly one of my favorite things to do. I don't know why. If I had the money, I would love to invest in some machining equipment and do this the proper way. There's just something enjoyable about taking material off and having it clean up. It's like, oh, look at those gouges. Well, now they're gone. So do this first. And let's go out here to the light. We can compare 2 cylinders. Where's the brightest spot? This one's pretty bright. Here is 1 cylinder freshly bored, or honed, rather not bored. There is no boring happening here, but we got some really nice cross-hatching. Notice how dull that finish is. You can see the shadows, but you can't see reflections. This is what you want your cylinders to look like. You don't want them glossy and shiny. Okay, same thing on this. But if you notice, if I leave that right there in the light, let's see here. There's a little bit of wear right down here at the bottom. I'd like to try and get rid of that, but we're not gonna, given the nature of this slap together rebuild. The dark spot down there is actually the shadow. Maybe we'll go 1 or 2 more passes on here. But overall, these are in pretty good shape. I cannot feel these with my fingernail, which is why I'm not doing an overbore. If you can catch an edge, or your fingernail catches anywhere on these grooves, like right here, there's witness marks there, but this is me running my fingernail over with pressure on the cylinders. I'm not catching, so we're in pretty good shape there. I'm gonna chuck this back up in the vise. We're gonna do another 30 seconds with the hone. Then this one's good. Then I'll bring over the other one and compare it. All right, squirt, 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 squirt. Soak it down. Grab our drill. 30 seconds is all this will take. And cue time lapse. Here's a clean part of the rag here. Re-wipe this down. This is much, much better than what we had previously. So these cylinders are going to need a pretty thorough bath, so we're going to clean all that up again at a later date. I'm just doing a quick cleanup right now from the machining and the stone cutting process. But these look great now. don't know how well this is going to show up in the light. Maybe right there. Substantially better than what we were at. Let's go back over to the same spot. High quality bench here. Look at these cylinders now with one quick wipe. The dark spots now are just residue that I didn't reach my hand far enough for. Let me grab the other cylinder. And you guys can tell me which ones look better. Here's the old jugs. Immediately, I have the camera set up in camera's on the tripod right now. Relatively similar angles. Look at how bright and vibrant this is compared to the darkness in here. There's a close-up. Hopefully you guys can see how reflective that gets. It's really hard lighting-wise. But see how it's reflecting the bottom of the garage? If I go over here, you can see the yellow lid from the storage tote on this side, and all of the blue from whatever else this is picking up on the reflection. That reflectiveness is not good, okay? If we grab the other cylinder and hold it right up the same way, where's the reflection? This just looks like nice, fresh cross-hatching. So that's what you want. We're gonna do this on the other one. Then we're gonna scrape these gaskets off and get these prepped in case my new parts show up tomorrow, which I'm thinking probably won't happen until Friday, but you can see how glazed over these are. The bottom's gonna be a little bit better because the piston doesn't go all the way down in the bore. So there's definitely still some cross-hatching marks there. These are not worn out past the point of running at all by any means, but they are definitely glazed over. And with how scuffed up these pistons are, it just makes sense to rebuild them. We were 8 bolts away from getting to this point. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'll throw you guys up on the tripod. It might make it, it might not, depending on how long this video gets. I might cut the second cylinder, but I'll throw you guys up, do a quick little time lapse on here. Get both of these looking nice and clean. And then some gasket scraping. That's definitely gonna be time lapse because nobody wants to watch that, but I'll show you what I'm doing, or what I use to clean these up. Then we're just waiting. So, I don't know, maybe we'll ditch the gasket scraping. I'll clean up the cylinders and then we'll pop some pistons out. So this thing will be ready to go back together as soon as my parts show up. One's done. Doesn't take that long. Again, I would not recommend this if these cylinders were messed up. You can see a little bit of scoring right here. I cannot catch any of this with my fingernail, which to me tells me this is perfectly okay. But all of that glazing on this cylinder is now gone. So we have fresh jugs. Now, I'm gonna lift this lift table up. I should probably put some of my tools and stuff. Look at this, all brand new parts, and I just got splatter and cylinder honing all over it. Now, I think we're gonna skip out on the gasket scraping because you got a base gasket. You got a head gasket. Most of the head gaskets came off, those are on the bottom of the head. But we're gonna scrape the crap out of these, get these nice and cleaned up. That's boring. Everybody knows that the worst part of an engine build is cleaning up the old gaskets, and if you don't, that's the worst part. What we're gonna do instead is pop these pistons out, and I haven't actually looked at this, but I'm looking at them right now. These are the nice, easy ones. Our snap rings, they're not spiral locks, they're little C-clips. And so we'll grab the C-clip tools, pop these pistons off, get these out of here, go over how sloppy this, what do you call it, connecting rod is. The female one's pretty good, the rear is pretty solid. We got a little bit of a shimmy in the front, but it's workable. It wasn't clanking. Like again, I got a lot more leeway because this bike's already been running. If I just had this, I'd consider digging into the flywheels, but we're trying to avoid that. This bike actually ran pretty good. Definitely still needs some carb tuning once it's all done, but we can address the timing and the carb tuning and all of that once the top end is freshened up and it's not leaking oil all over the place. We grab the snap rings out of the toolbox and we'll pop these pistons out. I apologize for the darkness. I have the garage open because all of this liquid that's down over here on the floor is fuel, straight gasoline. You can see all the muckiness. That's the metal material on the top there, that little ring, and everything else around it. Workbench is all covered. Heater is off so that doesn't spark up. And my lights are on top of the garage when the garage door is open, and it's nighttime. Walk you through the snap ring process. So this is a cheapo Amazon kit for the house garage. I've got nicer ones too. Oh, I put that on backwards. This is set up backwards right now. It's nice, they're adjustable. They come with a plethora of different sizes, and there's 2 detents on one side and a threaded little nub on the other. This allows you to have it open or to close. In this case, we actually want them to close, so I open it to where I want it, pull it in, and it closes. If I run it on this detent, as I pull these in, it spreads them out. So 2 snap rings. Let's be responsible. I will grab a little rag up here. We're going to do the rear cylinder first. I'm going to jam some rags down into the cylinder bore, so in case one of these decides to let go, they are under spring tension. I don't have to worry about this one dropping into the motor. Well, definitely dropping into the motor. That's really my biggest concern here. I don't care if I lose the snap ring because I have new parts coming. And technically I should probably plug this distributor hole too, but we're going to live on the edge here. So you got your pistons. We'll catch the snap ring with the tool, compress, pull, and then immediately take that off because I don't want to lose this. Just going to drop this right in the bin of Harley parts. I don't think I'm going to reuse these. So that's the rear. We'll do the same thing on the front. I'm only pulling one side of the snap rings out. Compress. You can do this with picks and screwdrivers. I recommend spending 30 bucks and buy an Amazon kit if you don't have snap ring pliers already, because if you're not using these, they tend to open them up or compress them and they lose their spring tension. This whole kit with all of these little adapters and picks and all the other stuff, less than 40 bucks. Is it the best? No. Is it really cheap quality? Absolutely. For what I'm using it for, it works phenomenally. Can't stress ordering one of those enough. That's saved my ass a ton of times on stupid little things around here. Snap rings are out. Now, I got 4% battery left, so hopefully this keeps going. Let me grab a small socket and we're gonna drive these pins out. That'll pop the pistons out. So on this style, when you do have those C-clips that you can get out with the snap ring, it's a little bit easier if you take them out first. Normally, if you're running the spiral locks, I'll only take one side out because you can get a socket or a punch to drive these through. Just fine. In this case, with the C-clips, in there, they get in the way of a socket that's going to smoothly drive this out. So right now, I popped the C-clips off of this side off camera just a second ago, and hold the rod, support it so you're not banging away at that, and that slides that all the way out. These should actually slide in pretty smoothly. In my case though, that's not at all the situation. So I'm holding the rod here, holding the socket. It's a lot of finagling right now, but just driving her out. And there we go. Pistons are free. So we'll set these over here. Both pistons are out. Now the top end is completely apart. Ooh, definitely had some heat here, huh? No wonder that was so tight. You can see the bluing on the top of this connecting rod compared to this one that has been sandblasted at some point, would be my guess. So I think this motor probably was rebuilt relatively recently. I got 1% of battery left, so that's gonna wrap this one up for the night. All I got left is scraping the gaskets and waiting on parts to get here. Then we'll go through, re-ring the new pistons, make sure everything looks proper and kosher for the cylinders, slap it back together, no paint, no anything, redo the rocker box, and that's it. So that'll be the next video. Catch you guys tomorrow. I thought I was done. I threw a new battery in. This is gonna come in the house. Got all of the gaskets scraped up on the cylinders. So tops are good to go. Bottoms are good to go. We are ready to reinstall those. And then I scraped the heads. Now, when I honed the cylinders, I used a squirt bottle of gasoline and honed all of that, made a big old mess over here. Everything's covered in gas. Been freezing my behind off with the garage open. I'm trying to air out the fumes. And then I decided to be an idiot and, while these are upside down, do a leak down test. So without fancy tools, here's your valves. Intake valve's the bigger one, exhaust valve's the smaller one, so intake's on the back side here. You can also tell by the bevel right here at the edge. Intakes are in. I filled these chambers to the brim with fuel. Now, we're gonna leave this here and just let it wait. In theory, if I fill this up, I should not have any liquid coming through those valves because it should be a closed circuit. So the exhaust valve's dry here. There's a little bit of moisture down at the bottom, but that might be oil around the valve seat. I didn't pull the valves. Let's spin one of these around. Now that that chamber is filled. This one actually doesn't look too bad. There might be a little bit of moisture coming through. The valve itself looks a little wet. The chamber around that, man, somebody ported these. This is the first time I've ever actually looked at these heads. This is extremely smooth. Somebody's been in here and ported these heads, which is even better. More winning. At least on the outside, it's way smoothed out. It doesn't look like they cut too much, but you can see a little bit. This is the worst part. There's a little bit on the back side of that valve. See that little hump in the middle right there? That's cut to direct airflow over. So these heads have definitely been ported on the intake side. I don't know about the exhaust. There's so much carbon and blackness from running rich. Let's spin this one around here. I don't see a ton of moisture coming down through here. Nothing major. I really want to just blast these and clean everything up and do this really nicely, but we're not going to do that. So I came back at the end of this. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I'm going to let these sit with gas in them overnight. I'm going to move these over by the garage door so they're closer to fresh air, because now it's getting real cold. You can see my breath, which means it's too cold to work in the garage. That's the end of this one. Thanks for watching. I will update you guys on this in the next video. See how this does with the leak down overnight test. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.